Rafael Ruelas, thank you very much for coming on to theboxingbar.com and welcome, my friend.
You're welcome, Robert. It's a pleasure to be here.
And thank you, Rafael. And it was finally nice meeting you guys, you and your brother Gabriel, the other night at the National Boxing Hall of Fame there in Montebello. You know, you guys both look still good and in fighting shape. What have you guys been up to after your retirement?
Well, I've been, for the most part, I've done real estate. I've been a licensed realtor for many years. Stayed in shape. I go to the gym here and there, and I'm also teaching some boxing classes a few days a week at a gym out here in Canoga Park on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And you guys are known to be from La Yerba Buena, Jalisco, Mexico is your hometown. What was that like being raised there back in that time?
Well, we were only there for 8 years. I left when I was 8 years old. So, it was, from what we knew, that's all we really knew. We didn't know much about, there was no electricity when we were there. When we were leaving, they were already installing the electricity, but there were no phones or no, TV or, but it was good. We had horses, we had, donkeys, mules, cows, dogs. And we had a school. We had a school there right across the street from where we lived. And just games, childhood games, the hide and seek and tag and just, regular, childhood games. But it was nice.
My mom, she's from a town called Tecolotlan, right there near La Yerba Buena, not too far, maybe an hour away in Jalisco.
Yeah, I know Teco.
And a lot of people, they have those fond memories, even though they came here early in their life. How was that transition for you when you got to the United States from, being there, like raised in a small town there, like in La Yerba Buena? What was it like when you came here to California?
Well, we adapted pretty quickly. I mean, we were, shy at the beginning, but we had cousins and we had some family that was here, and, so they took us out to the park and, got us to, basically to socialize with, others at school, and there were others at school who spoke Spanish, so, we would get a few of our friends who did speak the language, so, English and Spanish, and that would be, almost like our helper,
And from remembering, I had your brother Gabriel on. He was one of my first guests back in the day when I first started this, and he was one of my first guests. I remember him telling me that when you guys, I want to say like some of your brothers or your older siblings, they came here first, and then you guys slowly started all going over there, or coming over here to the States. What was that whole life like for you guys to be coming over here?
Well, we had a lot of brothers and sisters that were older than us, and we didn't even know them. We knew that they were in the United States, which, we called El Norte. So we knew they were in El Norte. But we hadn't met them. So I couldn't remember them. So one of our sisters, one of our older sisters, she went back, and her goal was to bring us back to the U.S. with her. And so she brought Gabriel, myself, and one other sister. The three of us came with her. And here we met our other brothers that were, again, older than us. And they had already, they already knew the language, English and Spanish. And they were working, and so they enrolled us in school, and they told us to make sure not to get in trouble and to just pay attention and get good grades, and that's it. That's how we focused on that. And once one of our older brothers had already been boxing, and he's the one who got us into boxing. He actually led us into it, or kind of pushed us into it. And once we started to learn the proper way, it was addictive. It hooked us on.
What was the first big step to go towards that whole career of boxing?
No, my brother, he knew the Goodsons. He had trained with one of them, and he had trained at other gyms, in Santa Ana, and Westminster. And so he'd taken us to a few gyms here and there, but just to watch, watch him basically. He would at times take us to the park, and he would bring with him, 2 sets of boxing gloves. And he'd have us box each other, which I didn't like, because my brother used to get the better of it. He was older, he's stronger and heavier. And so I didn't like that, But it was out in the park. It was not in a ring, not, no ropes, no mat. When we got a little older, I'd say 13, 14, we'd been selling candy door to door, and my brother, he ended up at Tengu's Boxing, and then he convinced Joe to train him. So he trained with Joe for about 3 months, and 3 months later, he brought me in with him. But on the first day that he brought me in, and he told Joe that his younger brother wanted to box as well. He didn't waste any time. He just threw me in the ring with Gabriel to spar. And Gabriel came after me. I was really surprised him. But it was different. It was inside of a ring. It was and I was able to survive for three rounds. I was exhausted, but I survived. And Joe was impressed by the fact that I survived the 3 rounds and that I didn't really get clocked with anything clean. I was able to move away, stay away, and so that's how it started. Once I started with him, he started teaching us properly how to properly stand, how to properly, leverage your punches and your jab and your right hand and your hook and uppercuts and everything, and to combine them. And then that hooked me. So I know that I could feel more comfortable because I was feeling better.
What was the first thing you remember about the first time you laid eyes on Joe Goosen? What was that experience like?
Well, he was pretty serious. He was he didn't play around, he didn't mess around. So he again threw Gabriel in the ring with me, and but he was I guess surprised or shocked that I was able to stay away from him because Gabriel was doing well after 3 months of training with him. He was pleased with Gabriel's performance and his improvement, and then throwing me in there with him on the first day and surviving the 3 rounds.
Whenever I think of like you and Gabriel, I kind of picture you guys next to each other, and right away you could tell that, hey, yeah, they look like brothers, and you guys do have those similarities. But yet, if I look at you, I say to myself, that guy looks like he's the guy that went to school and got good grades, and Gabriel looks like the one that was more, he probably ran crazy and did the thug stuff. Would you say that you guys are like each other, or you guys are like totally opposites?
No, we're more opposite than we are like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He was a little more of a thug than I was. I
Right.
wasn't really. He got into graffiti a little bit, or he called it, creative art. He was in some group. They called it COA, Creators of Art. Yeah, so basically, I think I put in a little more effort than he did. I was more disciplined. I always think that he was more talented, but I was just more disciplined. I put in more effort than he did. I think I had to work extra hard, but it was in me to go. He was older. He was getting good results. When he turned pro, he was knocking everybody out. He was undefeated. So I wanted to, continue on that same path. I didn't want to, be the brother that was losing fights. So that pushed me, both inspired and pushed me at the same time.
When you started doing this, did you ever have doubts, or did you know this is what you wanted to be doing, or did you ever have doubts and say, I don't know if this is what I want?
Well, initially I didn't think of it that way. But once I started, at the gym, and then he just heard from Joe, we believed what Joe told us. He felt that we had it, that we had what it would, that we had enough to, to make it. And so, so that helped us, and then it encouraged us, and obviously he would always tell us, make sure that you do, the things that, you're supposed to do, not just here in the gym, but outside of the gym. Make sure you're not doing things you're not supposed to be doing. Because he would tell us, hey, look, here in the gym, I can see what you're doing, and I like it. You're doing well. But he was, once you leave the gym, you're out of sight. And I don't know who you're hanging with or what you're doing, but you got to be careful. Because if you're hanging around with the wrong people, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get you mess up, not be in shape like you should. And, then you're not going to get the results that you would. So we always kept that. I always kept that in mind.
That's a good thing. That was a smart thing. What was your amateur career like? What would you say are your biggest amateur accomplishments during that time?
Well, we started, pretty quickly, Joe put us in a open invitational tournament, and when it's invitational, whether you're open class or novice, you fight whoever is in your weight class. And it was a first blue and gold tournament at the Olympic Auditorium. It was to honor Hector Lopez, who had won the silver medal. And I fought in the 80-pound weight class. And I had maybe 2 or 3 fights going into the tournament, and we were fighting people from different states, and you get the top fighters here as well. And I made it to the finals. And at the finals, I lost the decision to Shane Mosley. You can still see that on YouTube. They still have it. So he was about 85-5 or something. It was like my 8th or 9th fight. Gabriel, the same thing. He made it to the finals, and he beat some guy that I forget the guy. I was thinking, well, I wasn't say it was Rudy Zavala, but I'm not sure that it was Rudy Zavala. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember Rudy Zavala. He was a world champion as well. He died. He was changing a tire or something, and then the car fell on him. Oh, but wow. He was so my brother also defeated someone who had a great record to win the championship. Yeah. I didn't win the championship. Shane Mosley won the championship. I do. And then later, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I do remember Gabriel talking about, I think I asked him one time out of a random question, what was it like fighting there at the historic Olympic Auditorium? And he did say that he fought this guy that he should have easily lost to, but he beat him.
Yeah.
And, what was it like fighting there at the Olympic Auditorium for you?
Well, it was great. It was great because that was the main venue here in L.A. I mean, that's where, that's where Rodolfo Gato Gonzalez, he was fighting. That's where Carlos Zarate, Ruben Olivares, all those guys were fighting there. Yeah. So it was great. I remember, it was really cool.
You made your pro debut there. It was in January of 1989, and it was in Las Vegas. What was it like making your pro debut?
Well, it was nice, and I was excited. And at the same time, my brother was already undefeated, and he had already a knockout streak going. So I wanted to, obviously do well, perform well. And I had a tough first fight, but I say tough because it was a very durable, rugged guy. But I beat him pretty, handily. I won a 4-round decision, unanimous decision, and a very good performance. I was pleased. Obviously, I would have liked to have gotten the knockout because my brother had knockouts, but I was still pleased. I was very, pleased the way the 4 rounds went and how I dominated the 4 rounds. And they were not easy, but I did dominate all of them.
Was there a lot of differences from going from amateur to making this first pro debut? Was there a lot of differences in how you felt?
I think so because, the reffing was different. The judging was different. You don't have to worry so much about, just points, jabs, and just rushing and making points. You have to be a little more, the punches had to be a little more devastating, a little more, damaging. And the gloves were small gloves.
Yeah, plus the lighter gloves, you're going to hit harder, but at the same time, you're going to get hit harder too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I was pleased with that. But keep in mind that our training, was mostly with professionals anyways. Who are sparring, had to be with professionals. With Alonso Strongbow, Frankie Duarte. Right. There was other guys. A couple of guys.
Yeah, Frankie Duarte was El Güero, what they called him. Pretty sharp dude. I've had him on as well, and we've talked about his career. You had a few decisions there, like let's say in the first 12 or 14 or 15 fights there, but that was about it. The rest of them were by KO. What would you say was your biggest strength in boxing? Was it a technique? Was it that you were tall for that weight class? What were some of the biggest strengths that you think that made you that good?
Well, I think that I threw a lot of punches. I think that I threw a lot of punches, and I think that, there was enough, leverage or enough force behind them, Right. Even in close, I was pretty good in close. I practiced a lot fighting in close because I figured even though I'm taller than most of my opponents, If I'm far away, they're going to be lunging because of my height. Even if I'm close, they're still going to be lunging. So I worked in close, and I was able to, connect pretty well and be effective that way.
And some of the things I remember about when you guys first begun fighting there out of Reseda and, they're at the Inglewood, at the Great Western Forum and all that stuff. Those are some of the prime times in boxing for me, being from Southern California myself. I remember all those fights at the Forum and, the undercards, and Barrera was, hooked onto there, Carlos Famoso Hernandez and Chicanito Hernandez and you guys and, Chiquita Gonzalez and so on and so forth. Tom Boom Boom Johnson, and all you guys. What do you remember about those times, man, fighting there? And what was it like fighting there out of, the LA area during that time?
Well, it was a good experience, and it was good. I had a lot of very good, sparring sessions with a lot of different fighters. I had, here and there in LA, as well as, something we'd go to Vegas, for the fights, and, we'd also get some good sparring there. But there are plenty of people to spar here in LA. Like I said, you're from Lito Hernandez, the guy from Oxford,
Robert Garcia.
Robert Garcia, also Fernando Vargas.
Right.
Fernando Vargas, I got to spar with him as well. Mm-hmm. In Vegas, I got to spar with Kennedy McKinney. Also the guy, what's his name, who knocked out Kostya Tszyu. He's also from Vegas.
Yeah, Vince Phillips.
Vince Phillips, yeah. So, we, here we had Hector Lopez as well. Mm-hmm. So it was good. A lot of people to have good sparring with, and that's what gets you prepared for the tough fight, and or something that makes a tough fight not so tough fight.
I remember your fight with in '92. It says right here, Rocky Lockridge, man. That was a tough guy. He had a great record, and you were fighting him with your record going in there as well. What do you remember that fight with Rocky Lockridge? May rest in peace.
Yeah, I remember that. He was a very good fighter, and I remember him knocking out Mayweather, Roger Mayweather.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember knocking out Roger Mayweather and other fighters, and him being world champion. And but he was a good fighter. He was a good champion.
Yeah, and he also fought Tony the Tiger Lopez from Sacramento. He also fought him a few times in big fights. In '88, I think they had the fight of the year. And I remember watching you, one of the bigger fights that I remember seeing you. And actually, I just watched it maybe a week ago when you fought Maromero Paez there in Inglewood. Man, it made a lot of noise, and you can find that on YouTube as well. Man, that was a big fight. And what's weird about thinking about that fight and watching that fight and listening to the noise of the crowd, it's funny, but you and him are both from Mexico, but because you know English and you were raised mostly out of here, you're considered a pocho. So a lot of people were there for Paez more than you. Yeah. You guys are both from Mexico. What do you think of how the crowd goes and all that stuff?
Well, it's exciting. And that gets me going, whether it's for me or against me. Either way, I use it, to push me, to prove, people wrong if they're against me and right if they're for me,
A couple of years down the line, you fight this guy named Freddie Pendleton. You would fight him for the IBF World Lightweight title on February 19th, 1994, there in Inglewood. What do you remember about going into that fighting, for your dream shot for the world title? What was that like fighting Freddie Pendleton that night?
Well, I was in a very tough position right away because I got clipped. It dropped twice in the first round, so I was highly concerned about not getting dropped a third time on that same round because we were fighting under the 3 knockdown rule. But after I survived that round, I remember Joe telling me, what, you already took his best, now go get him. We got to make up for the last, round. Go get him. And I went right after him. I figured, okay, I already took his best, and now it's my turn. And I stayed on him and wore him down. It was a tough fight. It was 12 fight, 12 rounds.
Yeah, it went the whole 12 rounds. And to come back from like you said, you got dropped 2 times in the first round. To come back from that deficit and still win at the end of the 12 rounds, that kind of says a lot, and it kind of tells the effort that you must have put into that fight.
Right.
What did you think of Pendleton as far as like a fighter, overall? He's kind of underrated.
Well, yeah, well, he was very fast. He was very fast, and along with that speed comes power.
Right.
May not be devastating power, but it's that flashing type of power. We just hit you and like the quick lights go out and the lights go back on quickly, but you're not hurt, or badly hurt.
Right.
So so the speed was always a problem.
Yeah, it's a big.
It was too fast. Yeah.
Big factor. You made 3 title defenses there, and a year later you fight Oscar De La Hoya, who was coming up, and gold medalist, the whole thing. He was bringing in crowds that like there was no other south of the heavyweight division like we hadn't seen in many years before him, or even prior to that. Nobody at that weight class had brought up people that much. What did you think about that when you got the news? You're going to fight Oscar De La Hoya, this guy that's from around your area. You're from the Valley, but he's from East LA. The whole hype about him and gold medalist and everything. You have more than double the amount of fights that he had as a pro. What did you think of getting that fight with Oscar De La Hoya?
Well, no, I knew that he was a good fighter. I know he'd been boxing longer. He started way before I did in the amateurs. He just did in the amateur a lot longer. He had a lot more fights than I did as an amateur, just like Shane Mosley as well. Mm-hmm. We were in the same weight class pretty much in the amateurs, so we actually fought each other in the amateurs as well. We split fights in the amateurs, and not with Shane, but with Oscar I did, and we also had an exhibition. So and then we had sparred. We had also sparred throughout the years. So I knew that he was definitely talented. He had a very good jab. He had a great left hook as well. And I don't know, maybe I wanted it so bad because of that. It made me want it so bad because of the fact that he won the gold medal. He was considered the big shot. So maybe that played against me. I went after him too quickly. I don't know. I look back at it and I don't know if I overtrained or what because my balance was not where it should have been. But he's a good fighter. When he hits somebody with a good shot or hurt somebody, he's a good finisher. He came with a great left hook. He went for the finish. They stopped it and that was it. It was a short fight. It was disappointing, but there's nothing you can do. Things happen, and you gotta accept that what happened. I trained hard for it, and I was highly disappointed, but just part of life.
The fight was called La Batalla. At that time, that's what the card was called. I just watched that fight maybe about a month ago. Also, just hearing the commentary about that fight. I don't remember this, but I remember hearing in the commentary that you guys had like bad blood. You guys were like kind of saying stuff about each other, and that was kind of unlike you, or as far as I knew about you or him. You guys seem to be pretty classy guys. Do you remember any of that trash talking, or did you guys have like some heated thing going on from, like you said, like before the amateurs?
No, not really. I mean, there were times, we in Big Bear when we trained there as well, in the same location, and we got to spar there as well, But no, not really. I mean, it was our sparring sessions were always competitive. In our fights in the amateurs were competitive as well. So no, not really. No, on the muscle. I mean, I just was wanting to beat him. If there's a guy that's that's considered the best in that weight class, and that way to prove the opposite.
Right. But when a big fight like this happens and it doesn't go your way, was it in you to take a big layoff after this? Did you question yourself on, should I keep doing this? Did you want to come right back to prove your point that you were a real fighter? How did you take this loss?
Well, I wanted to come right back, but it was tough mentally. It's tough, especially when it was short. It was not not like it was one toe to toe for many rounds. Right. So it was difficult. It was a difficult thing to accept, but there's no choice. Either you deny it or just go with the accept the reality. And so that's what I had to do.
That night was the worst night possible for your brother's opponent, Jimmy Garcia, who passed away a few days after losing to Gabriel. And it's obvious that somebody doesn't fully recover from something like that happens when a person is lost. But during this time, did he seem like a totally different person? You know, how did you see it during that time?
He was down. He was down, sad and, not feeling well. But, we just, Joe and myself and, family would tell him, hey, you know what? It's a risk that everybody takes. And, it could have happened to him. And, we don't know why things happen. When they happen, you got to just, accept and pray that, that the God is watching him, The God called him, and that's it,
As time went, you had a good fight with Livingstone Bramble, and you had some good fights after that, and then with Kostya Tszyu as well. You happened to lose that one with Kostya Tszyu towards the end of your career, second to your last fight there. What were those fights like for you, with these, big-time fighters?
Yeah, well, they were all, good fights that I had to get, ready for, that I had to prepare properly,
Right.
and always looking for, the best sparring partners. And again, Joe is a trainer and experienced trainer that he is. We'd go to, Big Bear for training camp.
Your fight with Kostya Tszyu, what did you think of that performance there in El Paso against Kostya Tszyu?
Well, I was disappointed with Joe that he stopped the fight because, I hadn't been knocked down. I wasn't, like swollen. I wasn't bleeding. There was nothing. And I had hurt him with a little shot, not big shots, but I connected him with the short left hook, and I remember hurting him badly. So I was really, we had a disagreement on that, and I wish that they hadn't stopped it because, you look back at fights with Joe where, let's say when he fought a Mexican guy, who was a great fighter as well. He knocked him out, and after he got knocked down twice, he got back up and knocked him down. Corrales,
Corrales, right.
And Jose, a great Mexican fighter, And so, in boxing, you let the fights continue, especially if you're not badly hurt. I mean, I wasn't badly hurt anyway. I hadn't been knocked down, no cuts, not swollen. But it is what it is.
And you fight one more fight after that. You fought Hiklet Lau. You won that fight, your very last fight in 1999. It's hard to believe it's been that long. After that fight, did you say, all right, that's it? Or did you still have, hopes?
Well, I got injured. I was training for a fight, and I got injured, and then I needed surgery, and I didn't go through the surgery. And you know what? It's good. I'm done. I had, my wife at the time was pregnant. Actually, I just had my first born. And
oh, really?
So in August of '99 was my first born was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In the last year or so, I know you started doing a lot of running and you've even flirted with the idea of coming back into boxing. Is that real? Or is that just
that was real. That was real only because I'm my weight is there.
Yeah.
I was feeling really good at the gym. I sparred. I sparred, and I felt well. It wasn't like I was sparring, just nobody, just fighting, sparring different, good fighters.
Yeah.
And so, right now I'm still, but I took all my exams. I passed all the medicals. So I had the green light from the commissioner.
Oh, wow.
But they were asking for, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you went that far.
Yeah, oh, yeah. But, right now I have, biceps, a little, I don't know what's up with it. I got to get it checked out. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that you went that far with it. I thought it was just an idea that was coming to mind. What do you think of fighters today? I know in your year, we're talking about 1999 where you made your last fight. You haven't even fought in this century. What do you think of the fighters from your time to today? Are you wanting to fight again because you maybe see the fighters of today a lot softer than they should be?
No, absolutely. I look at fighters like Ryan Garcia is a guy that's around my weight class. When Devin Haney is another guy.
Right.
For Ryan Garcia, I look at his fight where he got knocked down by Luke Campbell, and Luke Campbell jumped on him. I think could have taken him out, but he didn't jump on him. Right. So that's why I saw a lot of opportunity.
And imagine what type of noise that will make, like, Ryan Garcia, he's he's promoted by the guy you fought. And, what would that be like? Which would actually be pretty cool now thinking about it. So for the people out there, is this a possibility? Is it something that you would push to want to happen?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I was training. I'm still in shape, but right now I need to, I'm not sparring because of the bicep. Something's up with my bicep. I need to get it checked out.
And I know you still have a lot of time in your life. You're still a young man, but I always ask everybody that comes on, what do you want the 3 big Fs? What I call the 3 big Fs: your family, your friends, your fans. How do you want to be remembered once it's all said and done?
Well, I want to, be remembered as a guy who, really put in an effort to be at the best that he could be, for the fight, because I wanted to, to perform well for the people, and I obviously wanted to win. My thing was always to win. To win, you had to be ready, and to get ready, you had to, put in all the effort, and so that's what I did, and it helps to see the results that one wants.
And you have, Rafael, and I wouldn't have asked you to come on if you didn't. From whenever I think of you or your brother Gabriel, I think of some of the best times of my, going to watch the fights. That's some of the best times in my life. And, just to have you guys on and to bring you guys to talk about your lives and careers and all that stuff, it's a great honor to me. And, I thank you very much for doing so. And thank you very much for all the memories, man, that you've left us.
Thank you. Absolutely. I appreciate it. It was great to be on your show.